everybody! Today we're talking about 6 easy steps to build your prepper food storage supply. I'm going to be sharing with you my personal advice on how to do this on the cheap without breaking the bank. So come along and let's get started. I'm Jen. Welcome to the channel. If you haven't been here before, we're all about living on less here in Canada. This is a continuation on my prepper series. I didn't really consider myself a full-on prepper probably until about this year when I looked back and I realized that what I'm just naturally doing for my family is a form of prepping. Likewise, probably my mother and my grandmothers, they would also be considered Canadian preppers because of how they raised their family, how they stored up food for the winter. So today I'm going to share with you my 6 tips on how you can do this in an efficient way that's not going to be super costly. If you're like me, maybe when you've been watching the news lately, you've been a little bit worried about food security, especially if you live in a city. There's a lot out there in the news right now about how many plants are closed down, so there's going to be a real shortage come this fall or winter on a lot of the food we rely on as Canadians in the stores. And it sure is coming in handy that I have a good supply of things stocked up that I've been able to work myself through, and I'm going to tell you right now that I personally am not worried at all for my family this winter because I know that the steps I'm taking this summer are gonna see us through. So if you are likewise curious as to how you can just even start this journey, start to have a bit more food security in your life, my first tip for you would be to sit down and make a list. I love lists. This seems to be the first step in a lot of my videos. First of all, decide what length of time do you want to have enough food to last you. For some people, this is 2 weeks. They want a 2-week emergency supply, and that's awesome. Other people, it might be as much as 3 months. For myself, my number is 12 months. I try to, when I'm preserving, when I am buying up food, I try to have enough for the next 12 months. Simply because I know this will see me through to the next growing season. Make your list based on that time period. So you're gonna go through and you're gonna think about what your family eats in a day, in a week, in a month. For all of the different items you eat, just make a list and write it down. For example, how much beef do you go through in a week? I've figured this out for our family and we go through about 3 to 4 pounds of beef a week at a minimum. How much chicken do you go through a week? Again, for myself and my family, it's about 3 to 4 pounds a week. I go through the list and I figure out not just for meat, but then I go through and I figure out for canned goods. So for example, canned peaches. Can you see back there under my light? I've got some canned peaches. We go through at least 1 can of canned peaches a week. So I know I'm going to need probably about 60 cans or quarts. Oh, wait a second, my peaches are on this side. There they are. My applesauce is on this side. Same is true for my applesauce, for my pears, for my dill pickles. I know our family needs at least 1 quart a week of all of those. So I'm going to need to figure out how I can get a supply when that is in season of that much to last me until next year when it's in season again. Maybe you want to break it into categories. Frozen veggies. Do you go through a lot of frozen corn, peas, beans? How about chicken broth, chicken stock for your recipes? We tend to order 6 to 8 large, like 10-pound chickens every single fall, and that's what I'll use throughout the winter. I'll just cook up a big chicken once a month at least in the winter time, and then I'll make broth out of the bones. But there's other things that you probably don't do for home preserving, like peanut butter, or maybe some Kraft dinner, pasta noodles, pasta sauce, salsas, canned tomatoes, all sorts of things that you would use throughout the next year. Make a list and write down an approximate number of what you would need for the time period you're looking at. My second step is look at that list and decide what am I going to need as supplies to even get this list. So if you are freezing things, if you are canning things, I think it's a really good idea to make sure you have all of the supplies you're going to need for that amount of stuff before you even start. So if you're deciding you're going to do some home canning, these are snap lids for your jars. I know a lot of other home canners have run into a problem where you buy some snap lids at the beginning of the season, but as you get further into the summer and maybe hit August, suddenly the stores are all out of snap lids and it's a big emergency. Right now, in 2020, this is especially true with how many factories we have right now that are shut down. I don't want by this video to create a run on canning supplies, but I do want you to figure out how much you're gonna need for this summer and buying it all at once. So I'm gonna show you here, I have an entire case of Bernardin snap lids here. There are 12 snap lids in a box, and I have 40 boxes here. So do some quick math. I'm looking at about 500 snap lids I've got just here in this case alone. I do have some more in my cupboard as well as some rings, so I've got even more than that for this season. Do you have enough jars for what you need? If you're going to freeze a lot of items, do you have the big Ziploc bags you need or containers that you're gonna need to freeze things in? I know my local Walmart has been out of Ziploc bags quite a bit lately, so this is again something you might want to think about stocking up on ahead of time. Now we're on to step number 3. You're going to just start with some baby steps on building your prepper supply. You're not going to be able to build a whole supply of food for the next year in 1 month. You probably don't have the finances to do that, first of all, and it would just be really time consuming. So I tend to break up what I'm getting into different months of the year. As I mentioned before, we get our chickens in the fall. We tend to get all of our beef and our pork in about January to last us through the next year, because I don't want my freezers all filling up at once. We have a lot of food that is coming into season in August when I do a lot of my canning, but there's also a lot of spring things like rhubarb and berries that I'm going to be doing in the spring and early summer. Start with those baby steps and start with what's in season now. Perhaps you want to choose something. Say you want to choose meat. Just start this week by doing some research online or calling around to talk to local farmers. Price out what is the best price. Do not break the bank on this step, you guys. Don't fall for, okay, this is organic grass-fed and we're gonna charge you 4 times the price of what you would pay in the grocery store. You probably can't afford to do that. Do your research, because you're gonna find farmers that probably are also organic and grass-fed that aren't going to charge you crazy amounts for it either. So it really pays to call around and figure this out and get something on order. My chickens that are gonna be ready in the fall, I had to let them know this spring that I wanted them. So sometimes it's a several month process because your animals need time to grow. And then along with the baby steps, maybe consider setting some money aside in your budget each week to stock up on things like your peanut butter, like your pasta, like your sauces, little things like that, that maybe you can gradually build that supply, whether it's a 2-week supply, 3-month supply, 1-year supply. Add a few things into your cart each week so that you're not going to notice a massive increase in your bills, but you're still working towards a goal. This baby step building of your pantry is also a great time that you can learn to use coupons in a huge way. I'll link here my videos on couponing for you in case you wanted to watch them to get some tips. I don't have time in this video to explain all my tips on couponing, but suffice it to say that you can get a lot of items for your food storage for cheap or nearly free just by being really smart and really savvy with looking for sales and using coupons on those items. This is how you build your supply in a way that is cheap and doesn't break the bank. I know how excited I have been when I was able to get, a whole stock of 12 of something that I know will last a year and it cost me like 40 cents or something like that. It's really kind of a fun game. It's something you can do each and every week to build that supply, see what you can get for cheap or free. Step number 4 is to learn how to home preserve things that you can't really get a coupon for or get on a super sale at a grocery store. Anyone can learn how to can and home preserve. I have other videos about that I will link here as well. It doesn't matter if you live in a rural area or if you live in a city. If you have a stove and a little bit of counter space, you can do this. It's not that hard, you guys. What I find really useful for canning is actually a book I have that's put out by Bernardin that's all about basically anything you could want to can and how to do it. I find it really easy to use this book in comparison to trying to read websites and go through things, and sometimes even compared to watching videos. I really like this book as a resource, so I'll link this below in case you wanted to buy it for yourself. I've used it for the last 10 years and it's been so helpful. And along with this home preserving, if you're not doing canning, you can freeze so many different things in your freezer, which means you're gonna need a deep freezer. Even if you just have an apartment, a lot of times you can fit a little chest freezer in there. Maybe it doubles as a table or something that you can put items on top of, but there are ways that you can fit a deep freezer in. We keep ours in our fruit cellar. I know a lot of people that even keep them in their garage. A deep freezer is super, super important in order to have all the food you need on hand, especially if you're gonna shop the sales or preserve it yourself. Deep freezers can be super expensive as well, so make sure that you check out online buy and sells. A lot of times people are moving and they're getting rid of their chest freezers, and chest freezers are not usually something that like go on the fritz and break down really easy like a dishwasher or something would. A lot of chest freezers can kick around for decades and they're still in mint condition, so I wouldn't be afraid to try to buy something like that used online. Step number 5, take up gardening, guys. I know there's some of you who really don't like to garden that are watching this, and I think a big reason why people don't like gardening is probably because they didn't grow up doing a lot of gardening, or it wasn't a good experience for them growing up, or they just don't like to be sweaty, they don't like to get dirty, that type of thing. And yeah, gardening is hard work, but there's so many rewards, and just like anything that's hard work, just like going to the gym or taking a course online, it's hard work, but the rewards at the end of it are so huge. You can save so much money by growing food yourself, and it's really good for your physical and mental health. I calculated this year that I'm saving about $800 to $900 on food costs just this year by planting things in my garden instead of buying them at the store. If you don't have space for a big garden, do you live somewhere that has flower beds? Even if you're in an apartment, if you have a patio, you can put lots of plants out there in pots. Lettuce, for example, tomatoes, you can grow so many things on a patio in pots. There are community gardens in Canada in almost every single community. So consider joining up with a community garden or a co-op farm where you can go and put in some labor in exchange for produce. And step number 6, which I think is my best tip for this video, is make friends. Okay, what does making friends have to do with a prepper supply, Jen? Well, you know what? A smart prepper is a well-connected prepper. If you've got lots of friends that are doing this with you, they can let you know when they see something on super sale that also has a coupon for it. If you have fellow gardening friends, they can also say, hey, I got an excess of this in my garden. Come take some for free, please. I do this with my friends all the time. 2 weeks ago, I was at a friend of mine and she had a whole bunch of extra broccoli. So we brought some broccoli home. And then a couple days ago, my neighbor was over in our yard and I showed her my massive quantity of lettuce and she took some lettuce home and I said, come back anytime and get some lettuce. I've done the same with our dill for another neighbor when she's doing dill pickles. Just come grab some extra. And then I have friends who've had a bumper crop of squash and have given me a whole bunch in the fall before. If you've got friends and you're doing this together, you can get so much free food that way and nothing goes to waste. You can also get together and have canning and preserving parties. If being in the kitchen isn't your thing, it probably is a lot more fun if you're doing it with somebody, which makes it go faster, which makes it more fun. There's so many reasons why having friends in this community is helpful. Not to mention the online community for prepping. I know there's a Facebook group in my area that I follow that's all about finding good deals at the stores, and it'll people will go on and say, hey, I found this, look at this price, and it kind of just notifies you of that type of thing in your community. Find groups like that, make friends, make connections. If this is your first time watching one of my videos, I am going to link some of my other prepping videos or things you might find applicable that you're gonna get even more information about this process. But what I would really love is to now hear from you. What are your tips? If you are already a prepper, you're already doing this type of thing, please let everyone know in the comments below what you do. Do you forage for wild food? I have a cousin who does this and I love watching her videos. There are so many different ways that you can build up your supply in Canada, and I want you to tell me what you do. Or if you're just starting this process, what are your goals this year for building your food supply? And do you have any questions? All right, this was so fun, you guys. I cannot wait to see you in the next video. For the least, this is Jen.